All right, it's 8 o'clock, so we'll get started, everybody.
7
7 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock somewhere, but not here. It's 7 o'clock.
Daylight savings time.
Yeah. This is the November regular Arlington Board of Education meeting. Tonight's meeting is being held in compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, a copy of which is posted at the back of the room. Let's call the meeting to order at 7 and take roll, please.
Jason
Here.
Cassie Fletcher.
Here.
Chase Credible. Matt O'Daniel.
Here.
Bruce Shear.
Here.
Shannon Wilmot.
Shannon and Chase are both, we have Chase with doing some family things, and Shannon came down sick, so in a moment, we'll take some action to excuse them. But right now, let's say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda tonight is item 1.4, is the approval of the regular meeting agenda. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda as presented.
Thank you, Bruce and Jason. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, let's vote, please.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes. Okay, very good. Motion carries. Item 1.5, the most exciting thing we have on our agenda, we'll do that after, is Cassie Fleschner. We get to appoint Cassie Fleschner to temporarily fill Janet Warner's vacant seat. Cassie was the highest vote earner, congratulations, in the recent election. So I've talked with some people at NASB how we would do this, and we'll appoint Cassie to fill Janet's seat for this meeting and the following meeting, and then she'll have to retake the oath along with the other newly elected board members, which should actually technically includes you, Jason, in January. So, Ms. Fleschner, Mrs. Fleschner, yeah, oh yeah, you gotta stand up and
Hand on the Bible and
Okay, I, Cassie Fleschner, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will take this obligation freely and without mental reservation and for purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of school board member according to law and to the best of my ability. And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence. And that during such time that I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence. So help me God.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. The second item on the agenda, or item 2 in our agenda, is guest and public forum. Is there anybody at the board meeting tonight that wishes to speak to the board? This is the appropriate time, and there's a sign-in sheet here as well. Anybody can speak? We got a couple guests. Nobody? Sir?
Dave Nissen, Arlington. I would just like to request that whenever you have a meeting in the big gym over there, that maybe utilize the public address system so that the people in attendance can hear. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else this evening? No? Okay. Item 3.1 in the agenda is, those are consent agenda. Actually, we have,
Why don't you want to do the motion to excuse the
thank you. Thank you. Bruce?
I make a motion to excuse Chase Cradaville and Shannon Wilmot from the board meeting.
I'll second that.
Just a second, there isn't anything on this, I gotta
Right.
get it, manually put it.
See, I'm always trying to get us through these, and
I'm gonna try to
you did.
remind you.
He was so excited about me.
I know, but I can't.
We can type it in.
Okay, Bruce. Okay, sorry, got it now.
No problem. Can we go ahead and vote?
Yes, Jason Art,
Yes.
Cassie Plessner,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes?
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
All right, thanks, guys. Motion carries. They are excused. So now that brings us down into the consent agenda, item 3.1. We have a special board meeting and regular meeting minutes on there. Anything you want to bring out of there, Dr. Lewis? It's really pretty.
Yeah, there's not a lot of surprises on the bills.
Yeah.
On the financials, I think there's a couple of columns. Mrs. Keeler had a couple questions when she walked in, so we're going to take a look at the percentage balance sheet. And we will determine if that was correct or incorrect this month. We did get the budget entered this month. It has not been entered the previous month yet. So we're going to see if something got quirky with e-finance when we pulled those reports, or if we just pulled a period instead of a full
Yeah.
year or something like that, so that you may have a second percentage sheet follow up in your email, and if we do, we'll have amended financials next month as far as our bills go. Everything standard and typical about this time of year. Waste Connections, however, was a little bit higher than normal, but we had received bills for 3 months, so that's a $1,200 one instead of a $400 one. So evidently they got behind on some billing and they're catching up with us.
Mm-hmm.
Last one's there. I think Wood River was a little higher than normal for this time of year too, but we received something a little bit late as well on that one. And then the Blue Cross Blue Shield and
saw
the
that,
hand
yeah.
payables, yes. So when the new calendar year started and new people joined the plan, the
Yeah.
billing is in arrears. So we had started billing. I think that's the best way to explain that. So we had an extra bill in there to catch up with the changes that were made as of September 1st.
Okay.
Yes, and then the extra minutes there from the special meeting we had on the 28th of September. We should have had them on the October one, but we decided to include them with the other levy one instead.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I get there.
Yeah, I move it to where it goes. Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Bruce, or Jason and Bruce. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Let's go ahead and vote, please.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Cassie Plessner,
Yes.
Jason Art,
Yes.
Bruce Shear.
Yes.
It jumps when someone makes a motion and changes that, so.
Oh.
And if you haven't been on there working like
Goes
normally,
back,
now that you're not, you're used to.
goes
being
back to
there.
the beginning all the time.
Yeah, it scrolls back up. Sorry about that, yes.
Item 4, we don't have any curriculum reports, but I think Dr. Lewis, you want to speak to some of the test results that will be forthcoming?
Yes, well, what I can tell you is that we were finally told today that our data will be released to the district, so we can see one district to the next. We kind of have a good idea of our own, but we don't know where that compares to the state yet, and we don't know where it compares to like our array schools. So that will be released to the districts next Monday, the 21st, and then it will be public release on the 23rd.
So I will send you those links to the NDE website as soon as that becomes available, and we'll have a link on our website as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we just learned that in a webinar today that they were releasing that information to us. So, yay, that's all, that's all we have for
Okay.
right now. Jackie, is there anything you wanted to add to that? Aaron, anything you wanted to add to that? No. We wish we could tell you more right now, but we'll get there.
Well, we're all anxiously awaiting the results and numbers.
So you'll have a full report in December, but I will send out
Okay.
information earlier than that to all of you.
Okay. That brings us down to the principal's reports. Mr. Fingston, you are at the top of the list, sir.
All right. All right, a little bit of information this month for everybody. We try to keep track of metro numbers and update you at least once a year on these. Ultimately, we try to capture year by year, so unduplicated head count and total credit hours for, let me try to zoom that in one more spot.
You can go full screen.
Yeah. Still, I gotta use better colors is what I just learned. That is too
Talk
dark.
to Jackie, she knows how to do that.
That's too dark. You'll see a big change. Where are we at? Or you won't see any big change really, other than we've got more kids taking more credit hours, able to start their college careers off with a little bit of change in the bank as far as not having to pay for as much college. They use our concurrent enrollment hours. That means that we teach the classes and kids are taking them with us. And then the big jumper is this one over here, is our Kickstart online hours. That's the one where we have a partnership with Metro, and the Metro teacher is a certified high school teacher as well. So it's an online course, but the kids get high school and college credit for that. So that's where you'll see a bigger jump. They didn't used to offer that. Then they offered it. First year for us was last year, and then this year we've had a jump even more. So we provide kids the time in the day for most of these to complete their coursework. It does not have to be scheduled and structured that way. So that's where you'll see a little bit of a change. And we like that. We gives kids a good start.
So they go online for that,
Uh-huh.
and they go into what Mrs. Miller's space.
There, some are in a classroom, like if it's a math class, they're in a math class. Some are in a, what's that?
Is that a bad number?
No, I think
Or is
that's just like kids taking Metro classes there at Metro, not getting the dual enrolled piece, I would say.
Well, I'm just looking.
Yeah,
at
the drop.
compared to the prior years, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
That
I don't know.
coincides.
I can have some conversations
Yeah.
with them here. If that jump is because we're now getting the high school
Over
credit
here, yeah.
over here, but I'm not exactly sure, because you see a drop here as well.
Yeah. Mhm.
But I don't know. I'll ask that question as
Mr.
far as that
Kingston,
goes.
is that
Yeah.
one student we also had enrolled full-time? That's not the college?
No,
Okay.
no.
And she's done now, so.
correct. So I will ask
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
On
I'm
what
just curious.
that drop is. But that's goes together with a jump in this Kickstart. In the Kickstart
Sure.
for our kids and the concurrent enrollment for our kids is where, when you see those two things, they're getting credit here and they're getting credit at the high school or at the college level.
Yeah.
The difference is this one is we have the teacher here. This one is, it's online and Metro has the teacher.
Okay.
Here are the ones that we offer.
In our building, right?
Yeah, this is in our building with our teachers, and it'll go on the second page here too. So there are some requirements for our teachers to stay up on with this. But these are the classes that we
Yeah.
offer here with our teachers that are dual enrolled.
In English and
Which one?
English and Spanish, it's a nice mix. Math is on the first page, you're right.
Oh.
And then the second page becomes the English.
You got kind of business
So you've got a
ones
couple of business
here,
ones.
then you got your math, and then you got your English, Spanish on the second page, and then we have a family consumer science as well. The introduction to special education.
Yeah,
So a lot of good things there that gets kids and families.
I know a lot of parents appreciate it,
Yeah, I'm one of
you
them.
know.
Me too.
And I've got a daughter who's a sophomore, but she's taken some junior classes. She is going into teaching, so she took some. And before we had the dual enrolled education one. We also want it to be, as a parent, we don't necessarily want our kids to sprint through college either. So we talked to them about opening up the option to not have to take 17 hours or whatever. They could take 14 hours and they're still ahead of the game, or different things like that. So still be a full-time student, but not feel the pressure of, oh, I got to finish in 4 years, so I got to take 17 hours this semester and 18 hours this semester. So even those that, you know, we're not sprinting to get into, what would you say, the real world, it maybe gives them a chance to take 12, 13, 14 hours, be a full-time student, and not feel the burden of everything too. So we talked to them about that.
Back when Hannah Thompson was at school here,
Yeah.
she took a medical or
Yeah.
nursing type class. Do we offer that anymore?
That was,
She did
no,
that through Emmanuel.
we had a couple of students that did that. They did that for a year or two, no, it was through UNMC.
Okay.
A year or two that was no cost to the
Right.
district. And the third year, the cost became very prohibitive. That the district would have had to make quite a financial commitment
Yeah.
for a single student to do that. That ultimately was kind of a decision maker there too. We wouldn't prohibit a student from doing that in some of the career academies. Some of those depends on the kids, what they want to do, and some of it depends on can they get there and finish their graduation requirements too. So I guess these are just ways that we try to be creative with our time, with our teachers, and with what Metro provides and what they're growing as well. So.
Now, does the credit hours of the Metro, do they transfer to another college like Wayne State or
Most of them do,
Yeah.
online transfer.
100%? Because
I will not say 100%, no.
I would say I've heard some of them will,
Right.
you have 17 credit hours and we'll take it.
Well, I have a child going to Sam Houston in Huntsville, Texas, and they took most of the credits that she had coming from here, from Metro.
And I have a
And
daughter
there's-
who's, in South Dakota, and they have not told her yet that they aren't accepting
Yeah.
any of them, so she's got over 30 that they transferred.
Yeah, it's great for the kids and for the parents.
Yep.
Yeah.
And ultimately, now all of this is, other than the books, and maybe a course fee or something, tuition and all of that is no fee. And I believe that is until 2025.
Yeah.
Maybe May of
this year.
2025?
Yeah, this year and then the next
Sounds
year.
right.
Yeah, so they've got a good, let's get get kids into the 2-year, 4-year planning type of thing.
Even if they didn't, it's very affordable. you
Yeah.
know, like, because we had to pay for a lot.
Good
And-
transition, yeah.
And some of the, like these career academies, we try to schedule, our kids who might be, here's a tough one. So maybe culinary. Culinary, they're based out of, the Fort Omaha campus, so kids could get there and get back here and whatever else if they wanted to participate in a variety of different things. Or if they had to do graduation credits to make sure that they graduated here, we've got like morning classes set up for them to do their English and their government, et cetera, and get to a culinary thing. It doesn't work as well for like auto body, things like that are down at the South Omaha campus. And some of those career academies, their 3-hour sessions are like noon to 3. Well,
Yeah.
they can't get down there for that. So we met with them 2-3 weeks ago.
Couple weeks.
And this is feedback that they, they
That
take
they
from the
accepted from
schools
us,
that they
yeah.
partner with and everything. And I mean, ultimately, their facilities determine some of where those are, offered, obviously. But we try to work with them and figure out and talk with our kids if they have that in mind, a technical skill, a trade, different things like that, and try to get them hooked up to a career academy that maybe at the Fort Omaha campus and things like that. So
It's great programs.
it's a good partnership.
Mhm.
And they do a great job, and we hope that they appreciate us as well. And I don't know, it just, we will have a career advisor back. We had one. She got promoted, different position, something like that, and they've been interviewing, and I think that they've made a decision. And that person is here once a week, something like that with us.
Yeah.
So that's good too. All right, Veterans Day program. We host our Veterans Day on the 9th. We did that for a variety of reasons, but probably the biggest reason, not to be obviously disrespectful or anything to our veterans, was we had quite a few students who were going with school-sponsored stuff. It would have kind of limited our music and our band and the offerings. We would have missed a lot of kids who were very involved in a variety of those things. So that's why we held it on the 9th. We had parent-teacher conference attendance. It's pretty similar to what we've had. It's not what we want it to be. This is our way of getting an outreach event to our public, to our parents. We've talked, Mrs. Toft and I have talked about what different things we could do to drive attendance numbers up. I don't know, we obviously have not found the golden ticket on that.
Does that consider those that are responding with email?
No, this is just you
'Cause
walk
that's-
through the door and you talk
That's
to.
where you're probably losing the
Mhm.
numbers, because I know like my wife, she did it all email. And
Yep.
if there was a problem, then she would have came.
That's that's the go-to that we'll say, we appreciate that. We also don't want to just rest on that, okay, well then, if it's the 60% who aren't coming, well, they're okay with what's going on, we still want to interact with, and I don't have the numbers of who had emails and not. This was just what came through the door.
It'd be interesting to see what the response with the teachers
Yeah.
of who responded with email versus them not coming in.
Yeah.
Because I think those numbers would change dramatically.
And we've got, I don't know that we have any way of tracking our Power School numbers or anything like that, because now, it used to be you come and get the report card or the progress report or whatever else and come and talk to the teachers, and that would be kind of how you would know the grades. Well, shoot, now you got them on demand, so
Mm-hmm.
it does change a little bit, but we're not gonna make any excuses for any numbers or anything that way. We'll try to continue to encourage everybody to come in and see us. I like face-to-face, so. Curriculum cycle update, next semester, I think we always shoot for at least by February, to have it's business, agriculture, education, and industrial tech is the cycle year that we're at. It's a little bit different one because, there's a lot of locally developed, there's a lot of, kind of the go-to, or standard, but not necessarily a national textbook for a beginning woods class or something like that. So it'll look a little different than last year's, but at least keep me up to date on that. We had our food drive and give you some numbers there. A little bit down from last year, but that's all right. We had a lot of stuff going on, sorry. I don't have this meeting. Okay, choir, these are great things. We had 5 choir students selected to All-State. And you got your names there, Melena, Jordan, Kaylee, Colby, and Garrett. And then 4 middle schools selected from Nebraska Honor Choir, Kylie, Lacey, Clayton, and Jax. And then we had a pen pal exchange with a school in Korea. And if you're on this, you can click on their videos. They're just pretty basic introduction. Here's our day. Here's where we walk in. Here's the classes. Here's a passing time. All that kind of stuff. Interesting. And then we had a National Merit Commended student. So scored high enough on his PSAT that met a certain threshold that then he was a National Merit Commended student. So from there, they go to semifinalists and finalists and things like that. But he stopped at the commended level. So that's Christian.
Remind me again of PSAT, what is that?
Pre-SAT.
Just the pre-SAT.
It's the ACT competition. You see the SAT a little bit more on the East Coast and West Coast, probably.
Good stuff.
You got it.
More thoughts or questions from Mr. Pinkston? No? Okay. Mr. Shady's got his activity report here. You can go through that if you have questions about it. Look him up. Mrs. Morgan,
Yeah,
how's it going down there?
good. We were not as busy as the
Yeah,
middle
we
school,
had a
high
lot.
school. I
Pretty
feel
good.
wrong saying that because it feels really busy, but we got some good stuff going on too. Our parent-teacher conferences, we were at 96% attendance. That's pretty standard for where we are at the elementary. Halloween parties and parade, another successful year. That's the staff picture. I was a little depressed that the students did not know who Where's Waldo is. Yep, I know. We've got some real education we need to do here. It was sad. They kept asking, so are you a candy cane?
Or
Are
an
you
elf or
Santa
whatever.
Claus? Like they were super confused, super confused. We had to bring out some old school books. And then One Book, One School is back. We just kicked it off. We are doing the Pet Wars this year. If you remember, that is where every family in the elementary gets a chapter book. There are little tasks to complete throughout the course of the month that we'll be reading the book. And then we have some challenges and prizes and fun stuff just generally. The kids are working to raise money for the Forever Home in Fremont. Our goal is to try to raise $500, and they have big jugs that they're voting, which I think the picture is down below. They're voting for what their favorite pet is, cat or dog. And that is the challenge in the book, just spoiler alert. That's what the brother and sister are trying to raise $500 first so they can get their choice of pet. We've got a good bet going in our house. We also participated in the Veterans Day program. Students sang a song and then had some art decorations up. These were the kindergarten and first grade hands. And there's an extra white page on there for whatever is about to come our way, I guess. So that part is yet unwritten. So that's what we've been doing in the elementary.
Fun.
And a little bit of learning and all that good stuff too. Lots of learning.
Yeah, that's good. Any questions for Jackie before we move on? No? Okay. That moves us down to the superintendent's report. We have, first item on there is discussion of a bus purchase from last year.
Right.
Dr. Lewis.
So last November, we had the board approval and a motion made to go ahead, because we had applied for and received approval to receive the NDEQ rebate to purchase a bus at that time.
Nebraska Department of Environmental Quality, right?
Environmental quality,
Yeah.
yes. So it's,
Lots of acronyms in this room, Cassie.
yeah, I will speak all of the words for the rest of the
Yeah.
meeting. And that would have been for 25% off of the cost of that bus, which would have, at the time, buses were running about $100,000. So it would have been a rebate on the backside of that. So we kind of held off on that purchase a little bit and just to kind of see what prices we're going to do, if it was going to stabilize. And we kind of realized that right now our buses are kind of better shape than we had anticipated. We had fewer repairs last year than we needed, than we had budgeted for, than we anticipated we would need. So we never did purchase that bus, and we were trying to reserve some depreciation funds as well in there. So we just held off on the purchase of that, and right now it doesn't feel like we need that. So I discussed with the auditor what action we should take or what we should do, since we had approval to buy a bus and we did not buy one. And she said, just go ahead and put it on your agenda as a discussion item for now and kind of talk through what
With the
happened. And
minutes.
yeah,
So it's reflected in the minutes what we're doing.
right.
Yeah.
And why we didn't go through with that purchase. It wasn't a red flag to her or anything like that. I
Mhm.
brought it to her and I said, we never made that purchase. What should we do? So she said, go ahead and do this. So
Yeah.
that's why we're talking that through. So.
All right.
We're holding off on that. My leave log is attached. If you want to review that, you can review it now, or you can take a look at it when you have time. So I'll throw that up there quarterly again, so you can see where I'm at. One thing I did not add to the bottom is the State Board of Education conference is this week. I am in meetings for that conference all day on Wednesday, which is the pre-conference. So I have 3 NERCSA meetings that day and NASA, you would call it, NASA. So NERCSA is the Nebraska Rural Community School Association. So I have three meetings for them. And the Nebraska Association for School Administrators, so I'm on a couple of boards there. So I'm in meetings from 9 o'clock until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I will also be in them on Wednesday.
Mhm.
And then we had planned to go all together on Thursday. I did not put those on there. They'll reflect on there next month.
What time do you want to meet Thursday morning? Here if we ride down.
Thursday morning, if we ride together, I think we've typically met around 7. I'll double check, because I feel like maybe 8:30 was keynote on that on Thursday morning. But
Yeah.
how about I double check an email?
Sure.
Does that work?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Review of the evaluation timeline. So Matt sent out today that he received in his email the link to do the evaluation.
Yeah.
We started this process with the Nebraska Association of School Boards last year, NASB, to do their online evaluation, which includes a self-evaluation. I completed that last week.
We
and once
received
I sent
that
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
it looks like that's part of what you receive, and then you go ahead and go through that, and it tabulates the results. And everybody
Yeah. So just Bruce and Jason, those are due on the 23rd. Cassie, you shouldn't be getting anything
Okay.
on this. Obviously, it'd be real hard for you to evaluate superintendent right now.
Yeah.
You got about a 90-minute window to,
Mhm.
but if you get anything, just let me know.
Okay.
You shouldn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if you do, because your emails, aren't met. So just get those done, guys, and turn them in. They don't need to come back to me. That's the nice thing. They go down to NASB and they tabulate everything.
I'll have to think about that too. I'm not sure, because I had to make her active in Spark, so she
Might get one.
might
Yeah,
get one.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, next on
Yeah.
Next is I just attached the Association of School Boards and the Rural Community Schools Association reports for the month. You can take a look at some of those. The Rural Community School Association has started adding a few member highlights. So, for example, I submitted that we had an undefeated 2-time state champion cross-country runner and some other things. So they're trying to highlight the accomplishments of some of the students in our schools, so that's kind of neat. So you can watch for those things as they pop up in there. We also had a team from the Rural Community Schools Association that ran the market-to-market relay. I think he mentioned that in there. We had a really fun day, and our t-shirts said running for the rurals, so it was a fun day to run with a bunch of people that we normally just get to work together, you know. The AFR is the annual financial report that is submitted to the state every year. This is not our complete audit yet. It's the just the kind of the I would call it the summary. So the complete audit has also been uploaded to the state, but Brenda would like to review that with the finance committee before that goes for full board approval. So we'll probably look at that in December. But this is basically the numbers
Mhm.
from that. This is, it's 13 pages long. There's quite a bit of information there for you. Just some highlights though. I'm not gonna necessarily scroll through page by page and look at that, but just some big broad overview statements. So we had better revenues than we did in the previous year, if we take a look at that. Even if we discount the transfer, because that showed as a revenue, the transfer from depreciation that we did last spring showed as revenue, even if we pull that out, we still had about $1 million more in revenues that we did. Some of that was ESSER funds. We did have more state aid and a little bit more option money than we had the previous year.
Is that what the 896 is? Is that all?
Yes,
Okay.
that is all the, it would be our
Option
allocated
funding.
income tax rebates and our option funding. And so
Okay.
if there's, next year, the audit on that figure we'll be looking at will include a little bit of equalization aid. This year we moved back into equalization by $85,000. So they added a little bit of that. So next year, that number will be closer to, it'll be slightly over $1 million versus that 896,000. Yeah. So, looked pretty good on revenues there, compared to the previous year. Looking at where we ended the year on cash in the bank, or what looks like their ending balances. The previous year was $2,665,101. And Aaron, I can't even tell you what page I'm on right now because there's so many in there. I just wrote them down because it was easier than trying to scroll through and find it. This year we ended with cash in the bank of $2,982,010. So that was a grand total, and this is in the general fund I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the other balances within our general fund. $316,909 better than the previous year, so that was good. Total disbursements overall too. In 2021, we ended the year with total disbursements of, in the general fund, $9,481,702. In 21-22, which is reflected in this, our total disbursements were $8,853,736. So that is $627,966 less than the previous year. We did not do any depreciation transfers from the general fund at the end of the year, so that accounts for, $350,000, $400,000 of that, because typically we would move some over. We were setting aside some reserves knowing that we were going to do the building fund, and a lot of times if we don't purchase a vehicle in a year, we transfer over. We didn't do that. So even discounting that and saying, well, we didn't transfer that, so it doesn't look like an expenditure. If you take that out, we still spent at least $177,966 less than we did the previous year out of the general fund. So, you know what? We tried really hard, and I feel like that's a success.
Sure.
Brenda would like to schedule a meeting with Finance Committee, so watch for an email about that. And hopefully we can get together between now and the December board meeting so she can go over the full audit.
Yeah.
So in looking at that, does anyone have any further questions other than these? I mean, there's a lot of information in there, and sometimes it's kind of hard to decipher what is, because each
There is a
fund
lot in here.
changes, and it shows your revenues, and then it shows your expenditures, and then it shows your starting balance and your ending balance. And so there's a lot in there. But so what I just gave you was actually the highlights of the general fund only.
Right. I guess this kind of ties back more to the financial reports earlier. We have a CD in our depreciation fund. It seems like recently did we take action to not renew that CD? We're gonna let it expire and bring it back in as cash? Or is that just a
We
discussion?
rolled it into, we rolled it when it came due into another 15 months to get the best interest on
Okay.
that. And I think that would, April, is that right? In April, we'll renew again. So at that point in time, we can decide if we want to cash flow that or leave it in the CD.
Yeah, because I was looking at interest income
Yeah.
on probably these two combined. No, that CD's not paying us any more than our checking
No.
account, really, is it?
No, it's
I
not.
don't think so. So it's not
Not
hurting
right
us,
now,
but
but
it's just, well, and that may reprice too.
it
maybe.
could, and we'll see what interest rates are doing when it's time to take
Yeah.
a look at that again. Unfortunately, when we rolled it, it was a better interest rate than what was in our checking account, but it wasn't a good interest rate.
Yeah,
If that came due today, it might be a better interest rate, I don't know. But we'll see what April looks like when it comes to that, so.
okay, yeah.
And we didn't have to do, you got the best rate at the 15-month term.
Oh, sure.
So that's why we did
Yeah.
that term.
Get the best rate at the time you can. That's
Yeah.
all you can do.
Right.
Any other questions, comments for Dr. Lewis on the AFR Finance Committee? We can get a meeting set up with the auditor and we'll bring, hopefully.
Yeah.
Bring the full audit to the board in December.
Yes.
Okay.
So I will email that out.
All right. Item 6.6 is discuss implementation of raising minimum wages.
Right.
I think everybody's aware that this passed.
Yeah, it was an
Our last
overwhelming
election, yeah.
majority,
Very
yeah,
much so.
So I just thought I would kind of talk through this, and this will entail deeper conversations when it comes to negotiations processes for our classified staff
Mhm.
typically. So the first increase is by January, everyone has to be at 1050, and we're good there.
Yeah.
We don't have a starting rate for any class of employees that's less than 11 right now, so
Yeah.
we're well in compliance. And right now, we don't have an employee that's at our base rates. Everybody
Sure.
has been here longer enough
Mhm.
or came with experience, and we started them higher than that, so we're good for this year. We might have to, there's a couple base rates of a couple of classes. I think some part-time, I believe part-time kitchen and custodians might be base rate below 12 right now, so we'll probably have to increase a couple of classes, but we have 15 months to
Yeah.
do that. And there's, maybe it'd be, I can't say
Yeah.
definitively that anybody's even making less than 12 right now. There might be a couple of newer kitchen employees that are part-time in the kitchen that are making a little less than 12, but it'd be super close.
Yeah.
So,
One of the questions here, and you have to have a labor attorney answer you this question, is if you have a position whose posted starting rate is below the minimum wage, even though everybody is
mhm,
making more than that, is that some sort of labor violation? I don't know.
Right.
I doubt it, but
yeah,
like you say, we have really a year to look at it, so.
so we'll have to make some decisions on that 12 when we start doing that.
Mhm.
Because honestly, we'll have to decide in April for what January 2024 is gonna look like. You know what I mean? So we'll have those conversations when the negotiations committee is ready to start talking about that.
Negotiations, I don't remember anyone being
Oh.
below that.
Yeah, and I have the chart.
Not even
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Everybody was above that.
It'll be the next couple of years after that. And I think they probably are going to make us raise our base rates, even if all of the employees in that category, they're going to make us raise our base rates too. By 2025, the $13.50 per hour,
Mhm.
and then $15 an hour by 2026. So we've got some time to look at that. There's a few employees that are under 13.50. 15 is where we're really getting to the point where that's going to be significant. So
And that's,
we don't
3.5
have a
years
lot
from
of
now,
that. A lot of our.
there'll be some movement.
Yeah.
Between now and then, hopefully.
Yeah, some natural movement that would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, something we all have to be aware of as we're going through and doing this, negotiations and everything else, it's pressure.
Right, and every,
Yeah,
public or private business is subject to this, so we need to, just kind of plan. Actually, I'll have to check
This
into
is a
that.
state thing.
So, just looking down the road,
Yeah.
talking about the implications of that, so,
well, that's a great segue into negotiations committee report.
It is,
Right. Chase and I met with the team from AEA. Do you have a date?
that
when we
was,
met?
November 1st.
Yes, Bruce is also on that committee, but because of open meetings laws and only having a 5-person board, Bruce had to stay home. So Chase and I met with him, and we always have one meeting early on. Our first meeting is about just a lot of general things, you know, what topics do we see on the table? What are our norms, you know? If there's any change in the committees, those kinds of things. And we had a real productive meeting. We really haven't started negotiating yet. That'll begin. We have a date set up. I think it's the 28th of this month.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so we will meet with them again. And, you know, it's been real positive so far. Hopefully we wrap this up really quick. That'd be great. And then Buildings and Grounds has met. Who's on that?
That is
Jason?
Bruce and Shannon right now.
Shannon.
It's Bruce and Shannon is on it,
Okay.
and then it was Janet. So Bruce and Shannon came in. So Bruce.
So we met last Monday, did our walk around on some areas, primarily up there in the kitchen.
Yeah.
The old boiler room area, I think we can utilize a lot of dead space, if you want to call it that. Just getting rid of we got a quote to eliminate the old boiler that's not being used because of the new HVAC system. So eliminating all the pipes, the boiler, some other odds and ends stuff that's not being used up there with the old system.
Yeah.
Which opened up that space quite a bit, and utilizing it for dry storage for the food. And then also we looked at which the bids came back we did this about 6 years ago or so, looking to eliminate the boilers.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 years, 4 or 6
It
years.
was before I was here.
Yeah, it was
So it
on
was
the
more than
board.
4 of us.
Yeah.
Anyway, for some reason, Shannon and I thought that the quotes came back, if we remember right, it was right around 30,000.
I don't remember. I
It was-
know part of that was they wanted to scrap all the,
Yeah,
you know.
it was an astronomical
Yeah.
price, and that would have came out of our pocket
Yeah.
to do. This quote here to get rid of it, it was like 10.
Well, that's later on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We've got that on the agenda, so.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
anyway, we went through that. There's a lot of open space that we can utilize
Sure.
if we do this. And then we also looked at coolers.
Yeah.
And portable versus adding on. So
Mhm.
it was a good walkthrough, a good reminder of what we had looked at it, 6 years ago, doing something like that, and we tabled it.
Yeah.
It's something that we need to look at, especially
Okay.
at the price, so.
Good, thank you. Okay, we have no unfinished business, so that moves us into new business. First item of new business is 9.1, which is a review of a lot of policies. Cassie, we always have a new person read through these policies for us. Tell us what you think. Yeah. Good luck.
I thought you told me that my notes were my notes.
Yeah. What do we know about these, Dr. Lewis? Anything you want to pull out of here or bring attention to?
I will mention that some of these we look at annually. So, and it's just, they're falling in cycle
Yeah.
right now, the student fees, policy and the homeless policy, I'm not sure if dating violence is, I know we have to have it, I don't know if that's an annual review or not, I don't think it is, but some of these, most of these in this are the legally required ones. So the student fees policy we're required to have, and the appendix there explains how we go about determining how funds are allocated in the student fees manner, so.
This is bus transportation.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that one. I'm just gonna kind of go down from the top here. Yeah. The wellness policy and administration, there could potentially be changes to that, flowing down because they are in the process now. Shirley is has a webinar, I think it's Wednesday, actually, to go through the wellness policy requirements. And after she goes through that, we'll make sure that our wellness policy is still compliant. So if we see any changes, it will be due to that. And that's one that they require every 3 years. You have to kind of go through this process and make sure your wellness policy is going to match up what they wanted to say. If you kind of take a look, Mr. Pinkston pulled it up there, but it talks about what foods we can serve at school and how we have to display things, and if they're sold in the kitchen, what the main ingredients have to be, and how we should promote wellness throughout the school and our curriculum, and how you shouldn't use physical activity as a punishment, and things like that. So it talks about the importance of overall health and wellness. Homeless policies and forms, those are the legally required, as well as the student privacy protection policy and the pregnant and parenting students. These bus transportation ones are not necessarily our in-depth ones, which kind of fall more in some other areas. These are basically, we provide, I'm gonna go ahead and pull them up. They're kind of short one or two liners that we provide bus transportation within the school district. These are not the ones that we would go to. I know we've had some discussion in the past couple of months about our routes and things like that. These would not be the policies that would be amended if we were to make a change to any type of busing service that happens in the district. And then the use of school buses, that's, we might provide transportation for instructional purposes and school-sponsored activities, so that's included in there. So those aren't the, they're not the ones that would need amending if we were to change how we were doing our transportation.
That's
And going down that road, a board member did come in and visit with our transportation director, Jen, and talked about some routes and some changes, and she kind of talked him through the process about how we come to those routes, and we're gonna kind of experiment with some routes, but any changes that we would make, again, may or may not require amending of a board policy, but it's definitely the wrong time to change them mid-year, midstream, because we acknowledge that making a change might make sense in some people's lives, which would make like maybe up to 30 other people's lives kind of messy right now. So we need to kind of stay the course, and then we'll continue to work our way through that process. And if changes are made, it'll probably be for the next school year, because it's just really hard to do that to families in the middle of the year. So
Does, after the first of the year, we always get parents that, new families that come and go. Is there a lot of change in the bus routes usually after the first of the year?
no, and we don't have an awful lot of change actually after like January 1st, if that's what you mean. If you mean the first of the school year, like in the August timeframe.
No, I'm talking right. You
Yeah.
just hear a lot of some families moving in
Yeah.
after Christmas, or, during the Christmas
Sometimes
break.
you do, but usually it's not a significant impact to, I mean, if that happens, it's 2 or 3 students, and a lot of times some of them might be on bus routes, but
They always call that second half of the school year, or whatever you want to call it, when they move after the first of the year.
yeah, so, and then special education transportation as well. These are again, just the legal ones that we have in place there that we review. That's that we're providing transportations to facilities for students who have special needs if it's required that they go there because we can't provide services for them. Safe People Transportation talks about all of the ways that we're keeping the students safe on buses and how we would react in certain situations. So it's kind of like your safety plan in school, except it's for the school buses. And the drivers have all of those procedures on the bus with them, so they would know what to do. Like, in the event, I can't even, but
If there was an accident
yes,
or went
yeah,
to the ditch.
all of those
or-
things. So every bus has that in there, and the drivers have access to that as well. The asthma and allergic reaction protocol and the physician form that goes along with that. Also, there were a couple of non-numbered ones that pulled over with us, and I pulled them over because they were actually the last 2 in that 5,000 folder. And I will talk to the attorney who wrote our policies about what number those should have had, but they were just in there. So it's the APS collaborative plan, which is, and the withdrawal from mandatory attendance, basically, is what those are, so. And I clicked on something and I can't get out of full screen, so I can't get back to my thing. I'm gonna look at what Mr. Krinsky has up there. So that's what those are. The collaborative plan is about attendance at schools for students that have excessive absences. It's basically the form and the procedure we go through with families to help them find ways to improve the attendance of their children. Schools are required to report any student to the county attorney who has missed more than 10 days per semester. That doesn't mean kids have 10 free sick days that they can play with, but we are required to report after that level because it's what the state has determined is excessive absences. And there's lots of research that says when kids miss more than 10 days a semester or 20 days in any given school year, their performance on just typical grade work assignments and on assessments is significantly lower than their peers. So
Yeah.
that's why we have that in place. We work with the county attorney in those situations.
Questions, thoughts? Policy's always where it's at. Cass?
Don answered my question in the very beginning.
All right.
I had one on there.
Okay.
He answered.
Okay. Item 9.2 on the agenda, Bruce alluded to it earlier. We've got some kitchen equipment. Is discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve kitchen improvements and renovations using excess federal hot breakfast and lunch reimbursement funds. And there's a list of things on there. Don, I'll let you take this, but as everybody remembers, we've been talking about this for some time and where the money's coming from and why we're, we've got some pretty old equipment in there too. So it's nice that we can update it, not really on a dime.
And I'll kind of review it one more time. So the past 2 years, breakfast and lunch has been free to all of our students. It was part of like the federal COVID plan, their American Rescue Plan, and all of those included food is going to be free for kids, except for extras and things like that. So it reimbursed the school at their reimbursement rates, which are determined by the federal government for every breakfast that we served and every lunch that we served in the past 2 years. Students still purchase then, their extras, their chips or ice cream bars or seconds. They still had to pay for those. So as the past 2 years progressed, we were basically unable to spend all of the federal funds that they sent to us. And then they came back to us about 6 or 7 months ago and said, we see that your carryover was this high in your hot lunch fund and you're only allowed to carry over reserves of up to 3 to 4 months of your expenses that come out of there, which for us is roughly $120,000. And you can go back to the AFR and you can see we ended the year with, $325,000. That's grown if you look at our balance sheet to about 375. I don't have the exact number in my head, but roughly what's happening there is now we're back to paid lunches, so kids are paying for their lunches and they're only reimbursing us for the families who qualify for free and reduced. So that should level out this year. But so they're requiring us to spend what they considered excessive federal funds that they gave us in the kitchen. So
Being the state.
being the federal government. Yeah, being the federal government. And if you also recall, this ties back to the audit, which we talked about last month, was the remote possibility of the amount of federal funds we had left to expend exceeding $750,000, and that we needed to spend that to avoid an additional layer of the audit, which would have added $8,000 to $10,000 to our audit. So with what we spent, and you saw on your bills this month, then we finally got the bills for the first set of expenditures that you approved in June. So that's the serving lines. They finally came in October and they billed us now. So the new serving lines, which includes a hot service and a cold service, and then the sections in between for trays and food and things like that, those will get installed over Christmas. There was some cost associated with installing those, which was electrical. Low end is probably going to be around 14,000, but could reach as high as 20,000 on that if he has to do some electrical drops and add some poles and things like that. So that's included in what we're looking at here today, and the estimates are in one document. They're going to pull them open. Renovations to, there is a restroom that's for kitchen employees only. So renovations in that area, because that bathroom hasn't been updated since they built the kitchen. And so it would include new cabinets, it would include updating the plumbing and getting new fixtures and the flooring, and lighting and everything in there. It's a pretty dang small, dingy little bathroom. So that's the Dave Cartwright renovations there. Quality heating and air was the estimate that they gave us to demo the boiler and increase that dry storage area, the non-perishable storage area for that.
Which this here is what I was talking
Yeah.
about. Going at least 6 years.
It's a third of what it was.
Yeah, both
Yeah.
Shannon and I recalled that it was like 30 grand.
And I actually couldn't find that in the files, and I can look in a couple of other places too, but we thought that perhaps that was initially for demoing both boiler rooms. This is just for the one behind the kitchen to gain that space for kitchen use.
Gonna have to
And then-
chase Freddy Krueger out of there.
Yeah.
Boiler room.
That's scary. Have they remade that movie yet? And then Midwest Distributing for an ice machine.
Yeah.
All those estimates are attached there. What is on hold yet would be a walk-in cooler and walk-in freezer. Was not cost effective, the first estimate that we got. Actually, we could have afforded it with the excess funds, but it was not the plan that the food service director preferred. So we're kind of waiting on another estimate, but we could actually go a complete different direction on that. So this will spend about $51,605, about in 9 cents exactly.
The
Two.
complete different direction is the portable ones.
Yes, would be like a very large 72 cubic foot 3-door freezer that you can move a little bit. Or it'd be like the ones that we have in there, except bigger,
Mhm.
to just gain more freezer space. If the bigger issue is the freezer, not the refrigerator. So, anyway, but we'll see what, so the first estimate that we got was to like come into the kitchen area, and it would be gaining them a lot of space in the freezer and the cooler, but it would take up a little bit more space on the
Yeah.
inside of the building. The other option would be, which we don't have the estimate yet, is to go through the back wall into the alley there. But that requires, and we're waiting on the estimate on that. I don't know what it would change on the actual price of the walk-in cooler, but it would be additional work on the exterior. And then also there's a gas line and meter that comes in there, and there's all kinds of electrical back there that would have to be moved.
Yeah.
So we anticipate that will be cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
So when we get that in, and then I can sit down and talk with Lawrence and Julie about maybe
Bring that piece in
a
later.
shared vision for that. So right now,
Okay.
this is for the electrical to install the new lines, for the restroom, for the demo of the back room to
Yeah.
gain that storage, and then for the ice machine.
Any thoughts, questions, comments for Dr. Lewis?
When would they do, is this on the Christmas break or is it?
We would get them as soon as we could. Actually, the electrical clearly would come in at Christmas break. Dave Cartwright, the one with the restrooms, that might wait until the spring, summer. And I think the ice machine could come anytime.
Yeah.
And then the demo for that back, we would want him to get started as soon as humanly possible.
Are the serving trays, the serving lines here yet?
Yes.
Or they are?
Yep, they're here. We just, it's gonna take longer than a weekend to
Yeah.
get everything moved out and
Yep.
reinstalled. So the next possible time we can do it is over Christmas.
Okay. Real good then. I'll make a motion to approve the kitchen improvements as presented for a total not to exceed $51,605.09 from the hot lunch account. Thank you, Bruce. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, let's vote, please.
Cassie Klesner,
Yes.
Jason Arnold,
Yes.
Bruce Shear,
Yes.
Matt Organic.
Yes. All right, motion carries. The last item on the agenda tonight is discuss consider date format for a community engagement meeting. We talked about this at our last meeting. Kind of wanted to wait until we had our new board members, one seated and one here, so we can be a little more effective with our calendar. Community engagement meeting, I think we're assuming January, February timeframe at this point, maybe February now that we're pushing into the middle of November.
Yeah.
Typically, we have them in the blue gym. We've done formats in the past. We've had Marcia Herring come in and moderate them. A lot of times leading up to it, it begins with surveys or questions out on our website, and we solicit responses for to kind of build that evening's agenda, what it looks like. But in a kind of a higher level view, it's because we're not looking for input on a building or a athletic facility or anything at this point. I think this looks more like a way for the board to update the public, with things that are going on. Certainly we want to talk about our test scores, student progress, things like that, the health of the district, things that are going on. And then, it gives anybody from the public that's interested in what we're doing up here to come up and listen and ask some questions and that maybe they don't come to a lot of board meetings, but they might come once a year to learn, what's going on, what our challenges are, the directions we're going, even our enrollment numbers, I think, are important to have on there. So that being said, other than the date, I think we have a couple of options. Really one big one. I know Marcia Herring with NASB, which is Nebraska Association of School Boards, has reached out to me and wondered if we were going to want to utilize their services to have Marcia come as a moderator, and or maybe collect data ahead of time for us. So that's where I think, other than the date, this discussion probably needs to be. I mean, do we want to run this on our own? Do we want to utilize Marcia to do it?
Does the NSAB have more, well, obviously probably more experience doing these, but do they do them often? Like an
All the
open forum
time.
like that?
Yeah.
Marcia's really good.
Yeah. So I mean, if we haven't done one for a long time, or maybe ever,
It's been a couple of years.
It was your first year, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was less of a format like this, and it was really more about moving into a building project.
Yeah.
So prior to that, it was probably when they were doing a superintendent search, they usually do something.
Mm-hmm.
The search firm that they choose usually does some community
Yeah.
engagement.
We did 2 when I was here.
Yeah. So, and this kind of goes towards one of our board goals to be more engaged with the community. If we can have one of these assumably every year, and make it an annual event. And I don't know, principals, do you guys have any input or feedback here on what, you talk to a lot of parents and, what they might be looking for out of something like this, or hot potato?
Thanks.
Yeah. But
I've heard worse than that.
any community, we definitely want to look at, why we're here is teaching kids. So we want to look at test scores. We want to look at achievements. We want to see and show the growth that our kids are having. And I think that the dual, a program like that means a lot to families. It saves them money. It helps their kids move ahead. And I don't know about all the other parents, but unless I drug it out of my kids, it didn't make it home to the kitchen table,
That's what I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, that I think there's a lot of parents, grandparents, step parents that don't realize that the school offers what we do offer in
Yeah.
college education, because it doesn't make it home by the student.
Here's
And
the-
yeah, we have it on our website but you still have to physically go and search out that information.
We have to consider, this is the parent-teacher conference, low attendance, or
Yeah.
relatively low attendance rate compared to especially the elementary school quandary. like we want the community to come in and participate and understand, and absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, will the community come in to a open session, whatever? I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds welcoming, it sounds, yes, absolutely, people want to know and want to hear it. I don't know, I was at the one we're gonna have a building project, and we had some people come, but it wasn't a overall just
Right.
mass
Mm-hmm.
community joining us.
Yeah.
That was for, hey, we're talking about the potential of a building project.
Yeah.
So I
I think
think,
you're the option. I mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
open the door and it'll be a huge turnout. At least there's some that'll show up.
Yeah,
You have
and
to
what
give
we,
them the opportunity.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and what we present, what we go over can be, will be followed up in the paper, I'm sure. Great reporting and,
So that's,
So is the question, are we gonna do this on
Thanks,
our
Cass.
own, or are we going to do this with the NSAB? Because I feel like we should lean towards the NSAB because they've done it before. They can say, these are questions that we've seen.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like we're all like, is this gonna work? Are people
Yeah.
gonna attend?
and, the thing about using Marcia and NASB is they will help set it up, and it will, invariably, it'll be better for everybody if they're involved, I think. So,
Absolutely.
Like
But
they have the experience, so we
Yeah.
should utilize it.
yeah, and I can have a conversation with her and see at what level or different levels that looks like, Um, Last
If it's just to
time,
moderate, it might be different than a full.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there a cost associated with it? Oh, sure, for
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, but they
So
might
there's
be,
gonna be different levels of cost associated with what level of involvement they're in.
So last time we had this, Marcia was very involved. We had, I don't know if it was last time, but we had tables set up and we did things like
We did
that.
breakout sessions. one
Yeah.
time.
And she really had a lot of control over that process. And because we're doing something different this year, I don't see it the same. I see the board members as kind of holding court more than Marcia.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Presenting this information, because what we've accomplished up here at the school is what we've all done, not in ASB. But Marcia will do a really good job in setting up the formats and getting the information for us. So what I'm hearing you guys say is reach out to her, find out what different levels of service she can provide us with and what those costs might be. Okay. Now a date. We've got Mr. Locker here in the back of the room too. Ready, grab your calendars.
Right, every calendar.
Bruce, you don't have to.
Yeah, I'm out, I'm voted out already.
You will be,
Was it voted?
you were voted out.
That's true.
Retired.
My name, yeah, I retired out, there you go. I guess I wasn't even on the vote. Of course, I did hear some people.
So we have,
written me in.
did they?
Yeah.
Aw, that's nice. I think you feel good.
But I didn't see my name up on there that I had a couple
They
votes.
won't list your name unless because you have to officially file.
Well, that's
too,
Oh,
right?
is
They won't-
that? So they didn't.
They
yeah,
won't put that on there.
What day of the
Oh,
week are we
yeah.
looking at?
Yeah.
all right. What day of the week typically works for these, Dawn? Thanks, guys.
It seems like Mondays, from the activity standpoint, tend to work better. Wednesdays
Wednesdays, as
are
long as you stay away
open,
from
but that's
church
not
days.
great. It's not great because of that, because we still have families that are active.
activities.
Activities,
Right.
yeah, there's
Activities.
for Friday though, Friday or Thursday, sorry, Thursday the 9th, there's nothing, Thursday the 2nd, there's nothing
Do
for
you have the
activity.
basketball calendar plugged in yet?
I do.
Okay.
Am I missing one?
When-
I don't think I have wrestling, that's the
When
only
is
thing I
it?
don't have on here.
We might have
Wrestling's
parent-teacher
usually
conference
Fridays
then.
and Saturdays.
I'm pulling up the school calendar.
Just pulling up. Mrs. Arp is pulling up.
I have wrestling also.
I've got wrestling.
Well,
Do I have wrestling?
I see the
Right now,
9th,
it's
the
like
23rd.
first, sixth, ninth.
Yeah, 9th.
What is it? Yeah,
Usually
wrestling.
Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah. So like,
That's
so the
for
sixth,
junior.
we talked about near the end. Did we talk about the 30th of January at one point in time? Because I see no activities right there.
Yeah, February, that's the parent-teacher conference, that's why we know.
Oh, on the 9th,
Yeah.
okay.
I felt like for some
You
reason
are
we
like
had talked
the
about January 30th.
We may have.
January
Does that give us
30th.
enough time? It should.
I think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
That gives us
That's
more
two
than
and a
2
half
months.
Mhm. January 30th?
Girls reserve.
Let's do here.
Yeah, it looks like.
You good with that, Ryan?
Practices.
Brian said it was last time. You said practices.
All right,
So you said you were last time.
So I'm gonna write that down as our target date,
probably start at 7.
I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, most of them will try to fill that with some. What's reserved?
Reserve. and freshman.
Okay, so I'll reach out to Marcia
And
and
they
keep
can have
everybody
that
posted
license.
for what I find out.
And we'll continue, I think, to discuss topics that we want on there. And
Yeah, I'll shoot a text out to Chase and Shannon and see what the 30th looks like for them, but I think you're right, we were looking at it last time.
It's like the only day on my calendar that doesn't have a dot, which means it
Okay,
doesn't have a
There's
date.
nothing going on yet. All right.
Okay.
All right, that is the last item on the agenda tonight, so we can adjourn at 8:15.
We ended with flowers.
Yeah, hey, thanks, everyone.
You are welcome. Nice tranquil.
Liz in.